Erin Doherty, welcome to the Hey Sunshine podcast.
Thank you, Shani. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I am so excited. And for those who are listening, Erin and I, how many years ago did we meet, Erin? Probably 4, 5?
Well, the first time we met.
Yeah, the first time we met.
Emily's birthday, the Japanese restaurant.
That's right. So that was ages ago, right?
Definitely 5 years for sure.
And so Erin and I actually, we lived together for about 2 years up in Byron. So we had the beautiful tree house, a 4-story, where you still live now, actually, Erin.
Yeah.
And it was just the most healing, home for all of us. And it was the most amazing thing. So we've been on a journey, the two of us, the past, however many years we've known each other. And I just really wanted to have you on the podcast and just you've been specifically on a journey yourself the past year, and just the growth that I've seen in you, and seeing you put yourself first and put your heart first and your desires and what you want. I just knew I had to get you on the podcast and just share your journey. And I think you've had some amazing, really practical steps about putting yourself first. And I just know they're going to help so many of the listeners. So that's what we're going to dive into today.
Yeah, I feel like I've been waiting to be on your podcast, actually.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit of that. And also I've just was recently thinking I want to share this story, this part of my journey. And then you messaged and asked, and I was like, yes, I am feeling ready to open up now and share it. Whereas before I was quite deep in it and it wasn't time. It wasn't time to share from that place.
So before we kind of get into what the last year has really entailed for you, I really want to, and this is going to be so up your alley, but what is magic to you? This is the opening question for the potty.
And I know you do this too. So
I know
about it. And it just came to me when I was driving. So I've just, driven 3.5 hours just to get to Noosa, but landing here now. And I was thinking about magic and what it means to me. And there's many things. I could probably talk about this for an hour.
Yeah.
But specifically what I think is absolutely fascinating and magic is a caterpillar.
Oh my God, I love this. No one's had this answer before.
A caterpillar has, I don't know what, 100 legs. It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And this caterpillar has full trust and faith in its process to go into a cocoon. Absolutely, I'm sure, no idea what it's about to become. And the process of metamorphosis to then re-emerge as a butterfly from something that has crawled along the ground, who now flies with wings. And I just think that is the epitome of magic, to go through that process of death and rebirth. And I think the caterpillar into the butterfly is the perfect example of that, because it's really that unseen. It's really tapping into the unseen and that trust and faith within yourself. And we are the reflection and a part of nature. So if we can just start to recognize what happens in the cycles of nature and all of its elements and insects and birds and everything like that, if we watch them, we can actually start to tap into what's possible within ourselves, because we're not really separate to that, and we have just as much, I'll say, power, but in the right way to do the same thing of transformation.
I think that's so beautiful. That's the best answer. I don't think anyone's answered it so well as that. But do you know what I love that you touched on is trusting the seasons of change. And I think we're so conditioned by society to be our summer, quote unquote, is where we're our most accepted and loved and fullest. And we try and force summer into every season of our life. But the caterpillar knows that, summer is one part of the full cycle. So yeah, that's Beautiful, Erin. Nailed it.
Yeah. I don't know if you've touched on that before in terms of relationships. You might have spoken about this between you and Blake, but the seasons of a relationship as well, and having that winter phase in your relationship and not being afraid by that. But just knowing that that's a part of the cycle.
And because each season is like here to teach us the different lessons. Like if it was summer all the time or winter all the time, like we wouldn't learn the unique lessons to that season. So before we get into the season that you have been in and your cocoon phase, do you want to give us a spiel about like you and Light Witch and the incredible business that you've created?
Yeah, it's been so fun. Light Witch has been a birth of where I've come from really for the last 12 years of working with energy and color therapy. And now it's kind of evolved into this offering for everyone, but mostly women who are wanting to, go in and trust their own intuition. So I guess it's developed into holding full moon circles and, following that cycle of the moon, and I guess teaching or sharing knowledge around just the lunar cycle month to month, but then also moving into the astrology and the energies that creates and, influences us as well. So that's been really cool for me to delve more into astrology and learn more about those parts of it too, because I'm not an astrologer. I don't come from that kind of training, although my training has touched on astrology and numerology and ascended masters and archangels and things like that. So I've always been in touch with it, but I've just been really going into more study in it in these last 2 years and sharing my knowledge really. Just really helping women tune into their own intuition and their own uniqueness. And so what kind of season are they in and what they need at that time, not necessarily what I'm telling them what to do, but to tune into their own intuition and trusting their gut instincts. We've all said that before. We've all said, damn it, I should have trusted myself, or I knew, I had that goosebumps feeling and I knew it and I didn't listen. And we've all said that at one time or another. And I think it's more just being in practices and rituals that help us be in tune with that more and more and more, and being surrounded by a group of people, like-minded people who encourage you to be more of who you are as well. And that's what I love, what I'm creating, this community of people who are excited to be more of themselves and to feel comfortable to be themselves with others who are also in their own uniqueness as well, which is really exciting to see.
Do you know what I love that you're doing? And it's like, think about like years and years ago, like hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. It's always been, women feel most powerful when they're in circle with other women, supporting each other, lifting one another up. Like, we've really lost the art of circle and ritual in today's society. And what I love about what you're doing is like, even your Monday meditations and like the rituals that you do, you're bringing back that power of community and connection and collaboration. And like every time I've been in a women's circle recently, like I have had the most overwhelming emotions come up. Like just, it's like that remembering of being like, wow, like we actually are in this together. It's not woman against woman. It's not competition. It's, this next level collaboration. And you're making this like mainstream again, which I just absolutely love. And it's like, there's so much to learn in sitting in ceremony and sitting in ritual with other women. I suppose before we get into your story, like how has being in circle and being surrounded by women helped you this past year in your healing journey?
Like now I'm getting goosebumps because if it wasn't for my Monday meditation group, which I've hosted for over 4 years now, that feels like the heart of everything that I do. And this group of women, it's an intimate circle that we've come to know each other so well over time. And it's a space that I've been able to come to and be myself, even though I'm facilitating also and holding space. Even just, my content on Instagram and things that I've been able to show up for and share has been really helpful as well. And only because it's helped me stay connected to the people that are in my community, I guess. And I think what is really helpful is the me too.
Yeah.
The people who say, I totally feel you, or I've been there too, or I know what you're talking about. I've been through that, or I'm going through that as well. And it's amazing how many people are going through it at the same time as you, or at least have been through it and can understand, because from where I've come from, it did feel quite isolating, because I just thought no one's going to understand what I'm saying and no one's going to believe me. So when you're sitting with other women and also because I've been in this community for quite some time now, they know who I am. So it felt safe for me. And that's a big, big word for me at the moment, is safety. So I could probably just circle back to your question. And the thing that's been most important for me being in circle is the safety that I have felt. And I'm grateful for what I've developed over the years, so that I feel safe to be in this quite vulnerable state that I was in, and still feel like I'm vulnerable.
And I want to honor you as well, Erin, because sometimes when we're the space holder, we feel we can't be vulnerable because we need to have our shit together and, we're holding the space and we're holding circle. But I just think there's so much power in, say the person who is holding the space, sharing up and opening, and sharing their vulnerabilities, which you've done so beautifully, because that just, allows everyone else, every woman in that circle to do the same.
It absolutely has. And also I learned a lot from the way I held space in the last, say, 7 months, and how that affected the people in the group and what was happening in the group as well in that time. And then coming out of it, feeling like I've got more of my energy back, more of my power back. And also coming back and saying to them, hey, I know things weren't like they always were, but I'm ready to step up again. And I will admit that the last, say, 6 months, I haven't been showing up like I usually would. And all of the women were like, wow, I couldn't really put a finger on it, but now that you say it, like, totally, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And thank you for just saying that, So I know we'll get to this, but this has been a big part of my learning to not be so perfect, and to be okay with the journey of being in the messiness or the chaos, and then being in truth about it and honest about it.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the chaos and, the year that was. I think we've alluded to, something really big has happened over the past year. Do you want to give everyone, as much as you're willing to share, a snapshot into what has, gone on and your journey this past year?
Yeah, well, I'll just preface it with this astrology insight.
Yeah.
So the South Node is in Scorpio at the moment, and the South Node is all about our past, and the past from not only this lifetime, but lifetimes before. And it's in Scorpio, so massive dive into the depths of the shadows, any things that have been hidden, any abuse of power, and things like that. So it's actually my whole, where I'm now has been the process over 18 months, because I guess what we're alluding to is I had a relationship over 12 months that ended 7 months ago. So I've almost been in that whole cycle for the time Scorpio has been in the South Node. And the learnings and teachings from that has been extraordinary for my evolution and growth as a woman. And it was, I guess I ended the relationship 7 months ago, which took a lot of courage, because it was very abusive for me, verbally, emotionally. And it was the beginning of my journey to figure out why I was even there to begin with, because when you're in something like that, there's a lot of questions around, I thought I was a strong person or strong woman, but how did I end up in something like this? And so I needed to figure out why. And yeah, that was the beginning of my relationship with a therapist, a psychologist, which again took a lot of bravery and courage for me, because I've never seen a psychologist before, and I was very embarrassed and ashamed by it, to be honest. But then when I started to talk about it, that was when the Me Too came in, because other people said, yes, great, it's awesome, and I see one too. And, you know, and then everyone was sort of sharing their story as to what they got out of seeing a therapist or still seeing a therapist and whatever.
Can we talk about the shame and the embarrassment that you said about, you know, engaging a therapist? What was that for you?
It was because I thought something was wrong with me.
Okay. Yeah.
And because I'd been repeatedly told in that relationship that something was wrong with me. So then to come to what I felt was going to be helpful and beneficial, but that voice in the back of my mind going, that means something's wrong with you, to see a psychologist or therapist. And it's not at all. It's not at all.
What's your take on it now that you have hindsight?
Well, I'm someone who was always into seeing a healer first, seeing a kinesiologist or, you know, a psychic or a shaman or something like that. And I did have my experiences with them, and they're helpful in ways. And then there's a part of me and my makeup that also is quite intellectual, and I need to understand things from an intellectual space. So the psychologist came recommended to me, and I wanted one specifically that worked also with the somatics of my being. So that meaning it's a felt sense, and what's my body telling me, because I mean, wow, the intelligence that it had to try and take me away from that relationship time and time again, which, you know, ended up in panic attacks and anxiety. So that was like huge, you know, huge signs for me. So I wanted to have someone with an understanding about the body and its intelligence and what it shows us emotionally, because I feel like my message, as well as, say, the Light Witch, wants to bring unity and understanding between the mental body and the emotional body. And I feel like I love both of those things, and I feel they both have a great place, and we just need to work out how to I guess bring them in harmony, so one's not overused more than the other, because either way that's going to be a bit destructive if we're in one more than the other, even emotionally more than mentally. So bringing that into harmony. So I think, in terms of psychologists, for me, it was great. So I could bring in the intellectual understanding of why I was feeling those things.
Yeah.
And what she helped do was validate my experience, because I was lost. I felt lost and I was confused, and she helped validate things with, you know, she has a clipboard and she shows me diagrams, and she talks about certain theories and stuff, which I love, you know, I love, and you can take them with a grain of salt, but they have helped me a lot to understand what I was feeling.
I think it's such a beautiful reminder for, you know, everyone, especially those with a spiritual inclination, because I'm like you, I tend to go the spiritual path. I'll see a psychic, I'll see a healer, I'll see, you know, a Reiki or someone more on the spiritual side of things, but it's a balance. And I'm finding that in my health at the moment. It's like, okay, yes, we can go the functional route, but also we do need a, you know, on a, you know, medicine side of things as well. And you touched on something really beautiful before, Erin, like you are the most in tune with your body person, and the most, you know, I use sensitive in a beautiful way. Like you're very in tune, like even the way that, you know, certain fabrics make you feel, and like you're a very tactile person. Like I love
See
it.
these silk pants I'm wearing today.
But I do. And then
Silk.
are they silk? Oh, they're green as well. They look amazing. An observation of you going through, you know, your healing, and you touched on it. Well, at the end of the relationship, you were quite disconnected from your body and disconnected from, you know, your intuition. Can you talk us through the process of kind of healing that and reconnecting with your body? Like, was there anything, any tools or practices that you did to like really come back to that like heightened sensibility of your body?
Yes. I loved, the things that were coming to me were touching on all layers of our being, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual. And I made sure, and still make sure now, that I see someone. So from week to week, I have someone different, and I call them, really, they're my support team and my support network. I think it's really important for everyone to have that, no matter who they are and who they perceive themselves to be, if they're in the healing world. So I see an acupuncturist. She was really helpful to help regulate my energetic body and the emotions that were moving through me. And to help sort of settle things as well, because there was, you know, uncontrollable crying and breaking down and those sorts of things that, I found like the easiest things to do. Like I remember this time I went to the printer and I sent them something to print for me, and I went there and it was just so wrong. And they were like, oh, that's what you sent. And I just kind of broke down and I was like, I know, but it was just so overwhelming for me because I got it wrong and I didn't. And then I was like, wow, what am I going to do now? And all of this. Anyway, so the acupuncturist really helped me with regulating that overwhelm. And then I also saw a massage therapist for my physical body because of how tight and tense it became, to protect myself. And then I also saw the psychologist. And alongside the psychologist, I also see a somatic therapist. And she also has that psychology in her toolkit as well, but it's mostly about what I'm feeling at that time. And it's hard to explain what happens in those sessions, but it always leaves me just so surprised as to what comes up. And it has been the best thing, I think, for me, again, to validate and to understand that my feelings are real. And that was the thing that I needed the most at that time, so that I could reconnect to my body, that I could trust them again. Because, it was a time where I did need to disconnect to my body to keep living in that world. But at the same time, I was really aware of what was happening in my body too, but there was a separation. So that was the struggle until I decided to end it and step out of that world and come back to my own.
So what do you feel like you learnt the most about yourself through this, you know, 18-month journey that you've been speaking about?
The biggest thing that I've learned is that it's okay to disappoint people. And it's really landed. Like I've read that lots of times, you know, you don't need to be liked by everyone. You know, you read that so many times, but until there's something that happens and you're ready for it, it's now landed. I'm okay now not to have people like me. It's okay. And that was the biggest lesson I took away from that entire experience. And it's now something, now that I'm integrating, I haven't just clicked and gone, yeah, great, I'm okay with not being liked. I'm now integrating that into the way I live, the way I relate, and the way I choose and decide on things now.
Can you give anyone, or can you give us some examples of where you've had to, quote unquote, disappoint people in, this past period?
Well, one of the biggest ones was a close friend who I was in conversation with a lot, and we were very close, and we'd always process things together and help each other out. But she's also been through some big stuff, and at the same time as me, and I couldn't be with her stuff as well as mine. And so after every conversation, I was feeling either triggered or hurt or depleted after those conversations or time with her that I spent. And I had to say to her, just in all honesty, I love you, but I actually have to just take a break for a while, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to reconnect with you, but I'll let you know. That was a huge thing. Like, that was huge.
Massive. Yeah.
Especially because she's been a close friend and someone who I still follow, and see her posts and things like that, and just be like, oh, like, I still have this love for her. I just know that I'm not ready to be in that relationship at the moment because of where I'm at and where she's at, and what I'm still integrating.
So that's like the ultimate, symbol of putting yourself first, really, is, and especially, when we've got those friends who, they're always there for us and we're always there for them. And it's like, you've got years worth of kind of friendship data. So when you like break that mold and try something different or put yourself first, it can be really jarring. So do you have any tips for the listeners, who maybe are in a similar position where they know they've got to put a boundary in with a friend, and, they might really be struggling? Do you have any tips for that?
I think the best thing is just to be really honest. You've got to be honest with what you actually need. So when I'll speak to me, because this is what it was like for me, but I needed to be aware of what I needed at the time. And so I knew that I was coming from a place that was very depleted. I was exhausted. My nervous system was wired, and I was trying to bring everything back to regulation. And so I just knew that I couldn't be in certain environments, and I knew what I needed. So I think the most important thing is that you've got to know what you need, and you've got to be in reality with those things. Like, so if you were to reject parts of those and try to push through and be like, oh, but I want to be that person that's, happy, and I want to be, with lots of friends. And so not confusing the connection part, because if people are just looking for connection, they think they need to be in these big environments, but actually that's not what they need. Like, you've just got to be in reality of those things. And so because I was, honest with what I needed, then I was able to say, and this isn't aligning with that. And so I just know I have to take a break. And then I needed to come to the conclusion of what I wanted that to look like, just for now, and just speaking in the now. Like, it doesn't have to be forever, and I don't know what it's going to be like next month, but just being in what I needed now. And not speaking too far ahead, because I don't know.
And it could change,
Could change.
Yeah.
And
so,
yeah.
I think, as I'm a quote unquote reforming people pleaser, just as yourself, Erin. And I think, as reforming people pleasers, we can have a really hard time tapping into like what we actually want and what we need, because all of our life we have put other people first, with the best of intentions, but we put other people first. Like, how did you really reconnect with what you wanted and what you needed? Because, by the sounds of it, you were quite beat down after, however many months of not putting yourself first. How did you reconnect with what you needed and wanted?
So being in touch with the feeling that it brings you. So you understand when you're people pleasing, where that energy is coming from. And I like to talk about it as like an adrenal, like you're just running off adrenals. You're just running off this like if you drink coffee, like you can feel that it's not real.
It's like a buzz.
Energy,
Yeah.
it's the buzz.
Yeah.
And so when you know that you want to text someone or you want to reach out to someone, and it's kind of coming from that kind of feeling, even like a push or a grasping, I knew that was the people pleasing attachment part of me. And then it's starting to actually get to know what it is you really want. It fills you up more. It's warming in the heart. You can even, like, the visuals that you get, you know, when you dream of things and you just know, like, I'm sure you did it with a partner, like what I really wanted to feel when, you know, I attract a partner, and where I want to live and what I want my life to feel like and look like. When you can dream it and think it and visualize it, it can become possible. It is possible. Not it can, it is possible. And by the one thing that really helped me hit home with that was when I ran that full moon festival.
It was so good.
It was so amazing.
Yeah.
And that really came to me. I swear to God, that was like the angels just going, here, Erin, do this. And I put all of my energy into it. And afterwards I thought, oh my God, I did that. And I knew that I saw all of those things come together. I really did. It was this beautiful process of manifestation, visualization, and I made it a reality. And that to me went, well, if I can visualize and feel anything like that, I can definitely make that happen. And so just going into that, like that caterpillar with the butterfly analogy, going into trusting that it's okay to lose the legs because you know what you're looking for or what you're going for, and that's to spread your wings and absolutely fly. And it takes a lot of trust and faith in yourself.
I just got chills. That was like amazing. And also just, I feel like you played down that full moon ceremony just then. Like, this was 100 women coming together in Byron. It was a static dance. It was yoga. It was, I think it was a Leo full moon, wasn't it?
Yes.
Oh my God. That was, I think it felt like the culmination of Light Witch. Like, this was like what you've been building and building for, you know, however many years Light Witch has been. This felt like the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I know.
Epic.
It's so funny because now I run my monthly full moon rituals, which are, say, 30 max. And that used to be my big events.
Yeah.
And I did the full moon festival, which was, you know, like 80 plus women.
Yeah.
And now my full moon monthly rituals are like my mini events, which
like that thing? Easy. You know, I can do it with my eyes closed. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. So it is crazy what evolves and happens.
So you touched beautifully before on, like, you know, how you've really like put what you want first and what you need first. And I want to come back to like the relationship lens. How has what you wanted in a relationship changed based on like this new data and all this new experience you've gained over the past year?
Well, what I want in a relationship, oh God. I mean, just coming from the one, I mean, that last one, I mean, it's pretty easy to up from there. But I think because I'm not in any rush, and I just feel like I'm not going to leave who I am again. I just won't. And because I'm consistently showing up to my therapy appointments and the practice of somatic connection, and I think that I just don't believe I'm going to let that go again. And I understand it more, what's happening for me and why I was doing that. So it's really the thing that's changed actually is it's got really nothing to do with them, and it's actually got all to do with me. And again, that's another thing that I heard over and over and over again, but now it's starting to land what that is. And if I'm connected and very, I don't know what the word is, but like if I just focus and concentrate on what fills me up and makes me happy, then I know someone will want to just like hold my hand and like, you know, skip down the road together, because he's not responsible for doing that for me, but instead we can enhance that together and co-create something together.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah, I don't really know if that answered your question.
No, it definitely did. And it just sparked another thought bubble for me. So in a recent mushy ceremony that I did, it was the whole message and the whole journey was around like losing that not losing, but kind of breaking down that attachment and that like I need you, and you know it has to be you. And it's like I saw a reel on it recently. It's a shift in love consciousness when we go from like, I need it to be you, and, you know, I need you to be happy, and I need you to fill this place in my heart, to, you know, going up a level in consciousness and actually thinking, no, like, I don't need you. Like, I've got me. I actually choose you. And it's just funny, that shift in language. That's what went through in the journey. It was like,
goosebumps.
It was, oh my God, I don't need you. I don't need your love. Like, I don't, yes, it's amazing, but I choose it, and it completely changes the dynamic.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely, 100%. I choose you.
Yeah,
it's so potent, because when you can come from that place of choosing, you can show up as a way better friend, a way better lover. And even if someone doesn't suit or match you as a relationship or a partner, you can still be there for them as a friend, you know, or, you know, something else, but just being in reality with what the relationship is rather than what you want it to be.
Totally.
When you come from that space. And then you can let go of all that bitterness and resentment and anger, because you're not putting yourself out just to show up for them anymore. Totally. You're actually just continuing to show up for yourself and able to give from there if you choose to.
And I suppose as well, when we don't have that like attachment, like if something happens, say if there's a, you know, you break up or you're no longer together, it doesn't mean anything about you because you've got yourself. And I feel like that's been your journey. It's like you've been building up to be like, no, I've got me. Like whatever happens around me, if someone comes into my life or out of my life, it means nothing about me per se. Like it doesn't, my self-worth doesn't change, whether you're here or you're not here.
Yes. Yeah. And what I'm picking up or feeling just for now, because I reckon that's for sure true. This is one thing that I learned as well. Like,
I love where your brain's going.
This one thing, because this is awesome. This situation hasn't occurred because of me. Something that because I love the holistic psychologist. I started following her.
She's the best. Yeah.
Since the breakup. And one post that really stood out for me was the codependency one. What you think about me is what I think about me, being codependency. So when you can realize that, then that can manifest what you're saying. When their opinion of you or what happens isn't a reflection of how you feel about yourself now.
Yeah. And it's so easy to say. This is the thing with all of this stuff. It's so easy to say. It's easy to read it. It's easy to be like, oh, I understand that on a logical level, but it's like the embodiment. And it sounds like this is the process you've been on. It's like you've known all these concepts, but it's like embodying it is a whole nother ball game. Like it's like, I suppose when we fully embody it, then we can truly understand it, I suppose. But it's a wild one.
Because now I'm really feeling, so now I'm starting to drop that like, well, what they think of me is what I think of me. So now that I'm getting used to going, no, I'm not coming to that because I need this. I'm getting used to that feeling, you know, of going, okay, I'm claiming me more now than showing up for them because I know that they want me to, but coming back to me. So now that I'm starting to kind of get used to that and integrating that, now I'm starting to find I'm now seeing a lot of my own subconscious thoughts about myself that I think have driven me to go to that codependency state. So now I'm actually starting to, like, just recently starting to recognize those thought patterns that might be driving or have driven that in the past. And I'm feeling like a more dedicated, maybe meditation practice or journaling practice is going to support me at this time, so that I can just get to know that part of me a bit more. Because what I'm also finding is that I don't want to reject that part, because that's what I've tried to do a lot in my life. I've tried to fix it instead of actually just feel it and be with it. And one thing that you said about, you know, if you're in a partnership and if it breaks up, if, you know, you have a breakup, it doesn't mean like I'm a, you know, bad person.
Yeah.
But what I was feeling when you were talking about that was, and you will still face the feelings of grief and loss and pain and heartbreak. That is something that you can't avoid, I don't think, you know. So like separating the two and being okay with feeling things that are really uncomfortable. And that's part of my message I want to share with people, is not to shy away from the feelings that feel really uncomfortable, or that you're embarrassed by, or you're ashamed by, or whatever it is, because it is unavoidable. And if you do try to avoid it, this is what starts to happen, that voice in the back of your mind, or that dis-ease, or that unease in the body, and things like that. So being, again, like the somatics and embodying what's being really felt, be honest with yourself with what's being felt, and give yourself what you need so you can feel that. So it has a pathway to go and then finish its path. It will finish its path, and it will transform if we allow it. If we don't allow it, it will become stuck somewhere in the body, and it will manifest as in a thought, mental body, or your physical body.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because we've kind of been taught for so long, like, you know, suppress your emotions. It's like, as a kid, it's like, stop crying, or, you know, put your big girl pants on and just get on with it. And so, you know, as kids, we're like, okay, you know, bottle it up. And then it just snaps, and it comes out in a really unhealthy way. And it's like, I feel like adulthood is just like an unlearning of all of this stuff that we've, you know, been conditioned by. And especially like feeling our feelings. It sounds so easy, but, you know, I see you do it so beautifully. But like sitting with our emotions, I remember, like, you know, when I started doing the work, and it's like, sit with your emotions, and you're like how do I do this? Like, do I think about them? Do I feel them? Am I meant to like write it down? Like, how do you sit with emotions? Because I see you do it so beautifully in ritual. Like, do you have any tips for people like me who are just, you know, disconnected?
One thing that really helps me connect with the feeling is music. And I have so many playlists on my Spotify, if you want to go to my Spotify and choose a playlist. But I have a playlist that is called Have a Cry. I have a playlist that's called Wild Woman. It's an angry one. It's got like a silver chair on it and those ones.
I love it.
But it helps me tap into the feeling that I want to express. And I've also spent many years with a great international teacher, Michaela Boehm, who just has a general playlist where you meet yourself and then allow what's being felt to be felt, rather than say, like what I was talking about, a playlist that helps you activate an emotion or a feeling. This would be another way to meet yourself, would be just to move through some cat cows for one song, length of song, and try and stay with the feeling that's being felt. And Michaela talks about it as like, you might feel numbness, or you might feel sadness, or, you know, whatever it is, but just trying to move the body where it's intelligently leading you to move. That's been the best thing for me. But I'm more of that mover, dancer sort of person. So that's one way, I think. And then another way is definitely writing things down and just even like I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write until something different happens in the brain. And then it's like, oh, I'm writing this a lot now and this feels weird. And then you just start to go from there. Like it will just start to stream out of you. And that really helps you create space between yourself and those thoughts now on paper. So there's a little bit of separation that you can start to observe yourself. Yeah. And
there's such good tips.
I mean, they're just two things that I would start with.
Well, even a static dance for you has been, you know, so ultra powerful over the past, you know, I think when did you really like start going religiously to static dance?
Yeah. I mean, I remember a friend taking me to one like 12 years ago. And it was crazy when I walked in. I was just like,
I know, right?
What the hell is this?
Yeah.
It took me like 40 minutes before I let go of the judgment. But it consistently, it started 7 months ago when I remember breaking up and I went straight there. It was the first thing I did.
It's such a cool space, isn't it? Like,
yeah. And you've got to find the right one for you, because there's plenty of ecstatic dance, like in Byron Bay, there's heaps.
Yeah, it's one every bloody hour.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. There's some on at the same time, like it's all happening. But you've got to find the one that suits you, because there are different groups and different energies that those groups create together, and different DJs. And yeah, you got to find the one that suits you best. Just like a yoga teacher, you know? You're not gonna
totally
resonate with all yoga teachers, but yeah.
Or come to Erin's next, you know, Light Witch Festival. There'll be some static dance there for sure.
Watch this space. I'm trying to find a venue at the moment. So yeah.
Well, I would love to do a little wrap-up question. And this is really for anyone who's listening, who's going through a breakup, or they might be in an unhealthy or, you know, emotionally abusive relationship. What tips do you have for them to really put themselves first?
I'm just taking myself back to what it felt like. And I think what's important, and what was important for me at that particular time, was it just so happened that I was around my family a lot, because all our birthdays are in that month. And it helped me tune back in to who I really am. And they know me the best. Although we're also changing and different people from who we were as teenagers and children, but as some kind of essence state, I did feel like I knew who I was with them. And so to be around people that you really trust, that you really, really trust and know you well. I don't mean to take unsolicited advice, but people that you feel safe with and that you can be completely yourself with. What helped me was that, and I remember you asked me a question, Shani, when I was still in that relationship, and you said to me, Erin, when were you like really happy last? Like, when was that last time you were really happy? And I remember I brought it all the way back before that relationship started. And I was just like, oof, like that was a little like inkling inside going, yeah, there's something not right. Hey, you know, so having some good people around that can reflect things but not tell you what to do, that really helped me. And do things that make you happy.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think just seeing like how much you have grown. Yes, you know, the relationship was all forms of, you know, challenging and all the things, but just seeing the path that it's like the trajectory that it's springboarded you on has just been incredible. Like, I think, you know, in hindsight, we can see, oh, wow, like this was such a pivotal moment, and it was, you know, so important in your journey. So I just want to, thank you for sharing so openly and vulnerably. And I know it's been big to like dive into this. So I just really want to honor you for just going there, and this is going to help so many people who are in similar situations, and it's amazing. You're amazing.
Well, thank you so much for just opening the space for me, because I feel like that really needed to be shared, just for me anyway, in my continual healing journey of that.
Right.
So thank you for doing what you do too, Shani, because
my pleasure, Erin. And I feel like for you, like hearing what's been shared today, like it's probably so eye-opening to just how much has shifted for you and how much you've actually changed.
Yeah, massively.
Well, tell us, how can people connect with you? How can they get in Light Witch's world?
Well, I think my Instagram is a good one.
It's the best place to start.
Lightwitch_. And you can join me online or in person at my full moon ritual, where we do yin yoga, sound healing, burning ceremony. And if you come to the in-person one, you have amazing therapists there that do hands-on adjustments and shiatsu massage. And they happen once a month, and one's coming up in 3 weeks. So you can download also my witch's calendar, and then you get to, keep an eye on when the full moon's coming, when the new moon is coming, and things like that. But just head to my Instagram. It's really got everything there.
And also, if you're in Byron and you want a personalized ritual, Erin can come to your place, your Airbnb, and set up a beautiful experience for you as well.
Yes.
So good. Well, thank you, Erin. It's been such a pleasure. And to everyone who's listening, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Shani.